something like that. So we're going to be looking at that. So let's bow and pray, and we will get kicked off here. Frank, would you mind opening us up in prayer, please, sir? Amen. Amen. All right, look at Psalm 40, verse number 8. We have, through the years, looked at this subject of, what is God's will? And God's will for a committed Christian. You ready? Anything he desires, according to the Bible. Psalm 37, 4 and 5, that he will give you the desires of your heart. Now, that doesn't mean he'll give you anything your heart desires, because our heart may desire wrong things. But if I am in the center of God's will, then he gives me the inventory of desires he wants me to have, and suddenly I want to do things I've never wanted to do before. And so the Lord will not avoid using your emotional dashboard. And it's like, well, God's will. God's will is the most boring. It is the most difficult thing in the world. It is not. If it's God's will for you to do a particular thing, you won't be happy doing any other particular thing. And I always think of Ernie and Sissy Hopper. They went to Africa, and now that was the Lord just relocated their heart over in Africa. And I don't want to go. The Lord may change my heart, but right now, the center of God's will for me is not to live in Africa. And I don't know, it may be the same with you, but look at Psalm 40, verse number 8. The first two words convict me. I delight to do thy will. And the word will means whatever. The word delight means to be pleased. And so here's the way we can translate that. I am pleased to do whatever. Oh my God. Yea, thy law or thy statute is within my heart. So, I delight to do whatever. So let's take a look at the four options that we're going to be considering. And I'm not sure exactly where we left off last week. We'll review a little bit and then move on. There are people in this world that are wise. And if you recall the text that we are studying here, Paul says, walk circumspectly. And the word circumspectly means to watch exactly where you step. If you're in snake-infested country, you will watch exactly where you step. If you are in a pen full of dogs, you will watch exactly where you step. And so this is one of those seasons in life when we need to be very careful where we step. You might step in the wrong stuff. You might step on the wrong thing. Have you ever dropped a glass in the kitchen and you're barefooted and it just shatters everywhere? How do you walk? How do you walk through the kitchen to the broom? Very carefully. You're looking, you're scanning, you're staring, you're scoping things out. That's what it says. So we walk very carefully, understanding what the will of the Lord is. And so to understand the will of the Lord, that's when you're wise, when you want God's will done in every intersection. And taking advantage, Paul said, of the time, and time is not chronology, it's not the word chronos. There are intersections of opportunities that you have. Boom. What are you going to do? When this crosses this, what are you going to do right there with that intersection? With the invitation, with the opportunity, with something that you could or could not do. What are you going to do right here? And we're going through this right now up at Caring People Ministry, and it was just such a boom. All right, here, you're walking down the street and somebody offers you the opportunity to buy some drugs. What are you going to do? Right there. You have the opportunity to sell some drugs and make $500. What are you going to do at that point? You don't say, well, I'll cross that bridge. What? You're already defeated. I'll cross that bridge when I get there. Well, what you'll do, you'll cross that bridge. You'll just go right through it, if you do not make your mind up right now. So there are some decisions that need to be made right now. You don't need to make it right now because you're driving down here to 17. You want to make your decision before you get to the intersection. If I'm not mistaken, you've got 2 options down there. And the third one is not good. You can go straight, you can turn left, don't turn right, and you get down to 17 south. Don't turn north on 17 south, all right, because that's not a wise option. But I need to make my mind up before I get in the middle of that intersection because I'm going to create some havoc. And so there's the wise person that wants to know. Then there's the simple. We used to all be simple. This is not a criticism. It's just a fact of life. We got some simple folks in here tonight. They're simple. These kids back here. I don't mean they're dumb at all. I'm just saying they don't have any life experience yet. They're naive. They're unsettled. They're not who they're going to be in 10 or 15 years. They will do things right now that they won't do next year. They're going to grow up. They're going to mature.
That be also interpreted as innocent?
Yes. Just absolutely no life experience. And the word simple in the book of Proverbs means open to suggestion. Do what? Yeah, just open, innocent, naive. Hey, you want to buy some of this? Yeah. Not thinking past the intersection. And there was a young man up there that didn't think past the intersection here about 5 or 6 days ago. He's in jail right now. He was here that morning that they came down here. Now he's in jail. Matter of fact, there were 2 of them that are in jail because when they got to the intersection, they had not made their minds up. They had not committed. I will not do this. I will never do that. And boom. It's like the husband that says, somebody says, would you ever cheat on your wife? Well, it just depends on what she looked like, or it depends on what she drove, or it depends on... Why? Why would you pray about that? You make your mind up before that is ever offered to you as an option. No, it doesn't matter what she looks like. It doesn't matter how much money she has or what she drives. None of that matters. So there's the simple guy. Then there's the fool. Now the fool says, I know what's right. The simple guy says, I don't know what's right. I'm just going to do something. He's young. He's just foolish. And then you got the fool, and the fool says this, I know what's right, but I don't care. This is the guy that knows what the rules are. He knows the boundaries. He knows the law. He does not care. This is the guy, like example for a localized example. Here's a poacher. He knows where your property line is. He knows where your fence line is. But he knows that there's a buck over there that he wants to take to the house and hang on the wall. He doesn't care. He knows that he should not cross that fence. He don't care. He's going to go do that. That's a fool. And there's a cure for that. There's a cure for the simple. There's a cure for the guy that says, I don't know anything. I don't have any experience in life. Well, there's a cure for that. And then there's a cure for the fool. And then there's the mocker. And the mocker is the guy that sees the wise guy and mocks him for doing the right thing. You think that, like they did Mike Pence a few months ago, he's got this, it's called the Billy Graham rule. And the Billy Graham rule is that you're never alone with a woman in a situation for fear of it getting out, and somebody lying about you. And so Mike Pence would not go to dinner with a female reporter for an interview. Just the 2 of them wouldn't do that. And he made that announcement publicly. Oh, my word. You'd have thought he ran over kitties in the middle of the highway. They laughed him to scorn. Mockers, mocking people for... Really? You think Jesus is the only way to heaven? Are you kidding me? Do you know how many people you're going to insult with that? Probably a lot. But I also believe 2 and 2 is 4. You know how many people you're going to insult with that? I really don't care. I mean, what can you do about it? You can't change the truth. All right. So if we don't opt for wisdom, you're going to opt for something else. You young people, back in the back, they're going to opt for wisdom. And right now, they're getting into maybe some areas of their life where, maybe you ought not do that. And maturity is doing the right thing without supervision. Maturity is when you do the right thing without being told to do the right thing. Maturity is when you can behave without a teacher being over your shoulder. A teacher, constantly, don't do this and don't do that. Maturity is when you can do the right thing without the police being around. That you drive the speed limits, you stop at the stops, you whatever. And I don't always do the right thing. I don't turn my blinker on all the time when I get, when I'm turning or whatever. I don't always do that. Now, if there was a policeman behind me, guess what? Tick, 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 tick. And so in every situation, we don't always do that. We opt for something else. What is there beside wisdom? What else is out there? And so we're going to be taking a look at that. There's plenty out there besides wisdom. And wisdom is when I have this delight. It pleases me to please him. It pleases me to do what he wants me to do. It pleases him. It's kind of like, a wife says to her husband, would you do something for me? It depends on what it is. It depends. Yeah, and a lot of people do that with the Lord. They'll say, well, Lord, it depends on what it is. If it means I got to go out of my way, if it means it's going to cost me a little extra time, energy, money, whatever, I'm not interested in that. Just give me something easy. Give me something that I can put on Facebook what makes it where I look like a hero, and I'll do that. I want a selfie doing something good, but not whatever. I'm not going to do the whatever thing. I will do whatever I want. And so that is a situation with a lot of us as Christians. And so here's another option. I can dig my own grave with the decisions that I make. And we've got a crowd in here tonight. You've been around the block. You're old enough to know that sometimes these graves that we dig, we can get out of. Not every wrong decision you make is a deal breaker, right? I have made a lot of decisions that were so terribly wrong, but God was gracious enough, and I got out of the grave. It was headed that way, and everybody in here has those kinds of situations. And so let's take a look now. Proverbs chapter 7. Proverbs 7. I love the book of Proverbs. It's so downloadable. It is. It's simple little. It's like an Altoid. This little concentrated, the curiously strong mint. You can stick it in your mouth, and you can keep on going. So chapter 7, and let's begin reading with verse number 6. This chapter is all about wisdom. And so verse 6 says that I looked out the window of my house through my casement, and a casement is a hole in the wall. They didn't have glass like we do. And so Solomon is sitting in his bedroom or his living room or his office or something, and he looks out the window, and here's what he sees. I beheld among the simple ones. I discerned among the youths a young man void of understanding. Now, how do we know? How did he know he was void of understanding? He just looks out the window and sees this random kid walking down the street, and he comes to the conclusion, there's a simple kid. That kid is naive. He doesn't know anything about life. Well, we're fixing to find out why Solomon said that. Look at verse number 8. Passing through the street near her corner. Uh-oh. You think he knew he was going near her corner? You think he knew what part of town he was in? So he passes the street near her corner and went the way to her house. You know where he's going. He's going to her house. He knows exactly what he's doing. In the twilight, in the evening, in the black and dark night. And so we've got where he's going. Now we know when he's going. He's going, sun's going down. They didn't have street lights. So he's walking in the dark. And behold, there met him a woman with the attire of an harlot and subtle of heart. She's loud, stubborn, and her feet abide not in her house. So we know what kind of woman we're talking about. We're talking about a streetwalker who is now clocked in. She's on the clock, and she's working the street. Now she is without. She's not at home now. She's in the street and lieth in wait at every corner like a snake hiding in the bushes. She's looking for somebody who's got a dollar bill in her pocket. So she caught him and kissed him, and with an impudent face said unto him, this is as hypocritical a thing as you will ever read in the Bible. Now here's a streetwalker, folks. Everybody in here knows what I'm talking about. Here's what she says. I have peace offerings with me this day. Have I paid my vows? I have been to church this morning. I have honored God and worshiped the Lord, and I'm caught up with everything that I'm supposed to do. And so now we can go to my house because my husband is gone, and this is what she's going to tell him. So she says, therefore came I, verse 15, to meet thee, just you. You're the one I've been looking for. Now here's a simple 15, 16-year-old kid, and here's this cougar saying this to him. What do you think he's going to think at that age? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You bet. You know, I can see him all puffing up here. Oh, I came to seek you, diligently to seek thy face, and I found you. Oh, my goodness. You're the one I've been looking for. I've decked my bed with coverings of tapestry and with carved works, with fine linen of Egypt. I have perfumed my bed. My hacienda is ready for you. I perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. I don't know where's enough room for folks to get in his bed with all this other stuff. Come, let us take our fill of love until the morning. Let us solace ourselves with loves for the good man. Now, here's the kind of woman we're talking about. The good man, that means her husband, is not at home. He's gone on a long journey. He hath taken a bag of money with him and will come again at the day appointed. That means a full moon. So he was gone for a month until the next full moon. With her much fair speech she caused him to yield, and with the flattering of her lips she forced him. He goeth after her straightway as an ox goeth to the slaughter, or as a fool to the correction of the stocks, till a dart strike through his liver. We're talking about sexually transmitted diseases. This stuff is as old as man. And so here is this kid, simple, stupid, impressionable, naive, and here's this older woman, catches him on a street corner and just points all of her charms and all of her beauty toward, like he's the only guy that she's ever going to do this with. Won't you come home? And, my husband is gone, da-da-da. Well, what does this kid do? Well, the Bible says just like a fool goes to the correction of the stocks. Now, a fool knows what he's done. The ox has no clue. The ox doesn't know he's about to get slaughtered. This kid had no idea. So here's one of the surface tension lessons that I see here. A woman who will come on to another man that is not her husband, stay away from her. I'm talking to guys here. She has no respect for boundaries. You ever seen a woman like this, by the way? I'm sure you've seen them on the job. You probably know some of them in town. They'll come after your husband. I mean, they will, and sometimes it's just open. There's no trying to hide it or trying to camouflage it. But then there's this woman, and so what happens, guys? When this happens to you, what do? Well, I don't want to hurt her feelings. Well, you better hurt her feelings. So you've made a commitment. We've all made a commitment. And that decision was made a long time ago in a husband's life, or at least it should have been, that regardless of what the circumstances are, you will never do this. Period. I don't have to pray about it. I don't have to, like Balaam, when those guys came with all that money, well, let me pray about it, and maybe the Lord will change his mind before the bank's open. There's certain things you just don't pray about. All right, now, let's look at this kid. He's a youth. He is a kid. He is a teenager. He's younger than these kids back here, as a matter of fact. And kids will do anything. You ever notice that? Kids are clueless. And the younger you are, the more clueless you are. Kids will put stuff in their mouth. Kids will drink stuff. I remember we lived in Marlboro. I was a little bitty kid. I mean, little itty bitty thing. And my grandma stayed, Josephine Rousseau was her name. And she came to stay with us. And she'd had a bad heart forever. And she had some medicine in our medicine cabinet. And they were those soft gels. I mean, back then I thought that was cool. I had no clue what it was. Well, it was nitroglycerin. And I remember taking one of those nitroglycerin tablets, put it in my, or little gel cap things, and I popped it in my mouth. It peeled a hide off my tongue. I mean, the skin just rolled on my tongue. I did that one time. I had no clue. You don't do that. I didn't know not to do that because it felt cool, in my mouth. You got stories like that? Everybody's got stories like that of stuff that you just simply, what? Should not have done. We did. We were just simple, clueless, inexperienced. They hadn't been hurt yet. See, these kids back here, they ain't been hurt yet. Oh, they probably been spanked. But have you ever been in a situation in your life where you would much rather have been spanked than experience what you did experience? A spanking would have been oh yes, praise the Lord, just spank me, let me not have these other things in life. But I look back there, they haven't been hurt yet. Life hasn't handled them yet. Life hasn't slapped them around yet. They've not been betrayed yet. They've not been divorced yet. They've, just all of these things. That hasn't happened to them yet. And when that hasn't happened to you yet, you're naive. You remember the time in your life when you thought everybody would tell the truth? As a kid, I just didn't think people do the wrong thing. I really didn't. I can remember sitting in restaurants and seeing a family over here and the guy's drinking a beer. I was like, oh, Dad, that guy's drinking a beer over there. Because in my home we never did that. And it was just like, it was just a heinous thing. Are you kidding me? And so I didn't know. Guy's probably a church member somewhere. I don't know. But they're not bad. They're just dumb. And by dumb, I don't mean stupid. I mean, they don't know. There are just certain things, yet they do not know. And so they have zero experience in life. They have, they're like a tabula rasa, psychologists say. And a tabula rasa is like a whiteboard. Life hadn't drawn on them yet. We got a whiteboard back here, had one. It was one of those marker boards. And at some point a few weeks ago, I don't think it was one of our kids, but some kid got one of those permanent black markers and just drew a big old black thing on it about that big. He didn't know getting it off. He didn't know. He can't read or didn't read. He didn't know what a permanent marker versus a dry erase marker was. And so that's just so typical, not knowing, just not having a clue about life. And vulnerable. Now, if we turn one of these kids loose and let's say, what if we took them down to a hotel somewhere and, we got a room for the night and then Mom and Dad just left the kid in the room by himself? How do you think that would work out? Something would get torn up, they'd get hurt or killed in one pot because they don't know. You don't do that. You don't touch that. That's just not what you do. And so here he is. There he is. Pants down the middle of his breeches. Or not his breeches, but. So, simple ones. And they have a motto in life. You've seen it on trucks. Ain't scared. Well, there's a reason why they ain't scared. The reason they ain't scared is because they don't know enough to be scared. There's some things you need to be scared of. There are situations. This young man should have been scared to death of where he was going. Walking, first of all, I'd have been scared to be on that side of town. At night, he knew who was over there. He had no clue what was about to happen. He didn't know he was going to the slaughterhouse. He had no clue. If he had known that, he wouldn't have gone. And so the more you learn, I don't like spiders, and some of y'all don't like snakes. And would you go to a place where you knew there was snakes and spiders? And I don't know, what are y'all afraid of? What besides snakes and spiders? What else scares y'all? What? Lizards? Welcome to Florida, Rose. Right? With everything else we've got. Stacy's afraid of moths. They just kind of creep her out. And so when there's a moth around, I try to kill it. And do y'all, those little rust-colored moths, have y'all seen those? By the hundreds. We'll probably get home tonight, and they're all over the outside of the house. And I get a fly swatter, pop, 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 and I'll kill 15, 20, 30 of them at a time. And so everybody's a little afraid of different things. Who's not afraid of spiders in here? You're not afraid? Really? Would you let one crawl all over you? But you're not, okay, a roach. Who's afraid of roaches?
I'm not going to run from them. I'm going to
Okay. Okay. So we're afraid of different things. And spraying with hairspray? A roach? Put a match in front of the hairspray? Is that what you do? Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Get a match. Yeah. Just make a blowtorch out of it. Oh, okay. But his hair looks so good, when you're through with that. And so there are some things that we need to be scared of. We need to be afraid of. And so now here's a picture. Here's a perfect picture of a simple guy. Don't walk that way. Don't do that. Bridge is out up there. Well, I'll cross that bridge when we get there. Well, no, you won't. You're not going to cross that bridge. How much tragedy could be avoided in life if this guy would say, what's the wise thing for me to do? Now, of course, at a certain point in life, they're not going to ask that question, right? I mean, even adults. I know adults that won't ask this question. They're going to do the thing that is the most dangerous. They're going to do the thing that is most, at least it's not prosecutable. Is that really the way you want to live your life? You want to get as close to the edge of the law as possible. And now, simple thinking. You ever tell that to your mom? I did. Yeah, I don't want you going there. Mom, nothing's going to happen. Everything's under control. I can handle that. You know what kind of party it's going to be. You know what's going to be going on. I can handle it. How many people have said that? And and I asked that bunch up there Friday. I said, how many of y'all ever said that? You're going to a place, you know what's going to be going on there. And you've said, I can handle that. It's okay. I'm past that. I'm clean. I'm whatever. How about you're just overreacting? Calm down. How about the simple aren't afraid of debt? The simple aren't scared of moral boundaries. This woman, she wasn't scared. This is a married woman. Could you imagine? And I know, again, my naivete is exposed here. It's hard for me to imagine a married woman doing this. It's hard for me to imagine a single woman doing this. But here's a married woman waiting until her husband is gone for a month. You reckon she's going to do this again tomorrow night? You think she's going to say the same thing? Hey, I've been waiting on you. How many times has she said that? And this kid was like, oh, wow, just for me. And so the simple just aren't scared of moral boundaries. They're not afraid of carnal people. There are some people I'm afraid to be around. I don't want to be around them. There are some people I don't want my wife around. I don't want my kids around them. I don't want to be around them. I wouldn't want you around them. Anybody like that you know of? There are no boundaries. There are no fence lines. They're like moral poachers. They just step across the lines of appropriateness and they will say anything. They will do anything. They have no concept of right and wrong and what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. The simple don't see hurt on the horizon. Don't do that. Why? Because you're going to get hurt. Simple man doesn't see that. Simple woman doesn't see that. You can warn them. You can give them all kind of heads up. They don't even see the horizon. Period. And so a wise person sees the evil. Hide himself. Here's what a wise person will do right there. When the bombs are going off over here, he's going to find a safe place. He's going to stay home. This kid should have been home. Here was sort of the schedule in this part of the world. When the sun came up in the morning, you got up. When the sun went down, you were inside. That was the clock. That was your calendar. And so the sun's going down. He should have been home. It's just like David. He should have been out in the field, but he stayed home during the season of war, and he was in the wrong place. And so in the wrong place, you see the wrong thing. And he saw Bathsheba, which she didn't do anything wrong. She was just taking a bath. I don't know if that was normal to take a bath outside in the open, on your roof or not. That's what she was doing. But had David been out in the field with his men, none of this would have ever happened, but it did. And so this is some simple thinking here. All right, now, simple thinking. Never trade what you want most for what you want now. You don't trade, this is what I want the most. And maybe what you want down the road will be impacted if I do this today. And just, recently we've made some decisions about our eating. And it's an odd thing. The more birthdays you have, the older you get. And so let me speak for me, I'm not going to speak for Steve. I eat what I wanted. I'd eat what I want to eat. Well, it was paying a price, or I was paying a price for it, Pants were getting tighter and da-da-da-da-da. And so it's in life, these young people, they've not experienced a lot of things. And they may want to experience them too soon. See, there are experiences that are so precious and they're so valuable that you want to experience them in the right place, with the right person, at the right time. And if you experience it too soon, you ruin it. You ruin it. It's like you're baking a cake. And your husband comes in, and while you put it in the oven 10 minutes ago, and he comes in with a spoon and he's digging in there, and no, that's not the right time. It's not ready yet. These kids, they are not ready yet to experience some of the things that God has in their future. Right now it's inappropriate. 10, 15 years, it's going to be appropriate. And so don't trade what you want most for what you want now. Now, look at 7:22. He goes after her straightway as an ox goeth to the slaughter. He doesn't see what's coming. Here's what you want to do. You want to grab kids, and there's not an adult in here that has not wanted to do this. You want to grab him by the arm and gently whisper in his little ear, "Stop, you little idiot, stop it." Do you wish somebody at some point in your past had grabbed you and said, "Stop, just stop it"? That's true. That's exactly true. And they're the ones that need it the most. And you can tell, don't do that, and they'll go ahead and do it. And then they come back and whine and cry, and what does that make you feel like doing? And probably everybody in here's heard that from your mom or your dad. I told you not to do that. Now, that was my dad, you stub your toe, and he's like, "Well, did you have shoes on?" "No, sir." "Well, go see your mama," so, and, oh, poor baby, and so, this doesn't matter to them. To a simple guy, that doesn't matter. There are activities that are illegal. That doesn't matter to some people. That doesn't matter. And so what do we do? To make those people feel a little better about themselves, we remove the prohibition. We say, okay. We'll put that on an agenda, and we'll vote on it. And so now marijuana's going to be legal. That's the way you handle this stuff. You just make it legal. There was a time when homosexuality that was looked down on. It was probably even illegal. Now, what do? How do you handle that? We just make it legal. I wouldn't be surprised if in the future, Sarah, they have a drive-through for bank robbers. Because you know what? We don't want to make them feel bad. So if you want, come through here, and we give a $100 limit. Now, you can only get $100, but, save your gun, just throw the little note in there. And all you got to do is legalize everything except what's right. We don't want that to be what we do in culture. But it doesn't matter, No trespassing. I don't care. Yes, sir.
I wonder if any other communities have the decal on the back of some pickups. What fence hunting?
Exactly. I know somebody's a member of that. And that's a deal. That's a thing. What fence hunt club? What fence? Well, the one that you just stepped across. And I had a bunch of, I was up in Kissimmee years ago, and I went back to the back of a swamp. That's where I got dropped off, and I was supposed to hunt that area right there, and I sat down, and there was a road. I was sitting on a dirt road, and there was a fence, barbed wire fence, ran across the road. I sat right on that barbed wire fence. On the other side of the fence, about 80 or 90 yards down the road, there were deer piddling in the road. There was a buck and some does. I just watched them. I could have shot him and dragged his rear end through that barbed wire fence, and nobody would have ever known it but me and God. But that was enough. And so, you know, when you get back to camp, you tell lies about what you saw and what you did. And so, and I told them, and they were like, well, why didn't you shoot him? I said, because it wasn't on our property. Well, we could have gone and get him. And these were Christian guys, you know. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. What is the cure for the simple? You can spank them. You can do whatever you want to do, but here's the cure. It's just time. They'll grow up. They'll learn. You don't do that. You don't say that. You don't go there. You don't get on that website. You don't return that phone call. There are just certain things you don't do. And they can't hurry up. It's like the cabinet maker versus the farmer. Brother Tom can go in there and drill a hole in a piece of wood right now, or you can put a pine borer beetle on it and give him 6 months, and you know he'll eventually get through it. But Brother Tom can create something right now. But with people, don't you wish kids were that way? You could take them and run them through the planer, knock the rough edges off, and you know, cut that knot hole out of them, and make something really creative. I wish people were that way. They're not. This takes time, and so time. You just wait on time. You can't drink a cup of coffee. The only thing you can do, teach him as much as you can, influence him as much as you can, and then do what the Japanese have a saying. It says, if he will not listen, let time be his teacher. Now, there's a cure for him. He won't like it, and we're going to talk about that here in just a minute, but you're right, and Stacy mentioned it a while ago. There are some people, you just have to back off of them and pick up the pieces when they hit the wall. That's what's going to cure them.
That's one of the hardest things as a parent.
Isn't it, though?
When you tell them it's there, you're going to hit it,
But it won't happen to me. Won't happen. I'm smarter than that. Yeah, I know. And you're just like, oh my word. But here's the thing. I try to keep in mind, I did the same thing. And if you, how many of you were a little on the rebellious side? Got 1, 2, thank God. All right, here we go. All right, but you grew out of it. Rules were kind of like sandpaper to me, and but you grew up. Oh, those are there for a reason. That fence is there for a reason. Yes, sir. Well, there are some. I think you're talking about as Christians. We can vote people out of office. You can defend yourself. And and how many fools right now are planning they're going to rob somebody? I saw a video the other day. A guy came up the front steps of somebody's house and had that that thing in the door that you could look out and see 400 miles. And he had his camera on. Guy had a gun in his hand, and he was kind of covering it up, and he was looking around. That guy breaks in my house. What would you do if somebody broke in your house and threatened your life? Shoot him. Exactly right. And that put into it. And then, of course, you're going to get in trouble because you're never victimized. If you're one of those kind of people that would not put up with that's the victim. The victim. I understand that, and I'm right there with you. Right. Now, what about the fool? Look at chapter 26, Proverbs 26, verse 11. Let's shift gears here. We're going to up the ante here. Yes, sir.
Some of these people aren't going to meet this wall or count it until eternity. We just got to be patient and trust God. God's going to take care of it.
But isn't it frustrating, though, to know that there's nothing you can do? Just sit back and watch. You know, how many people are going to go to hell? Most. Most people will go to hell. There are going to be people go to hell that have been in service right here at Riverview Heights. Maybe for years and years, and they've heard the truth, they've heard the gospel, they've been around you guys. They're still going to die and go to hell. What can you do about that? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. All right, now look at chapter 26. There's a very graphic illustration. Look at verse number 11. As a dog returneth to his vomit, so a fool returneth to his folly. Isn't that a delicious picture? Yeah. It is. It is. Now the fool knows it's wrong. He just does not care. We got people in this town, they know what's right and wrong. They're not simple. They're not simple. They're not naive. They've had life experience. They just don't care. This is the guy to be afraid of. The guy that doesn't fear God is the guy I fear. And so this guy knows what he's doing. He doesn't care. He just doesn't give a fill in the blank there. Okay, I tried to be a little discreet right there. You just fill in the word that you wisely think he would use when you confront him. I don't give a flying flip or this is just the fool right here. I know it's wrong. I'm doing it anyway. We're going anyway. I'm going to say this anyway. I'm going to return this call anyway. I'm going to get on that website anyway. I'm going to go to that party anyway. I don't care. It might not be smart, but I'm going to do it anyway. That's a fool. Yeah. I'll do what I want to do. And but they also probably have your phone number in their phone, and when they need to be pulled out of the ditch, guess who they're going to call? You know. So, I'm not hurting anybody. Here's a woman who wants to abort her baby. It's my body. I can do what I want to do. I'm not hurting anybody. Really? You're not hurting anybody? It's my body. Well, I realize it's your body, man, but you do realize that prostitution is illegal in all 50 states. You can't do anything you want with your own body. You cannot. It is illegal to do anything you want with your own body, including abortion. That is not your body, as a matter of fact. It is a separate life entity within you. That is not your body. That is their body. Abortion is the only crime I know of where the victim is executed. The baby is terminated. Anyway, this idea of I can do what I want to do. Well, do we live on islands? If somebody in your family says, I'm not hurting anybody, I'm just going to do this, is that really true? Does it hurt everybody? It hurts the parents. It hurts friends. It hurts people that really care about you. There is no such thing as a victimless crime. People connected with you. If it doesn't hurt you emotionally like a family member, it's going to hurt you financially. Who's paying for the free room and board down here at the county jail? Who's paying for that? We are. We are. Who pays and thank God for police officers and first responders. You know, unfortunately they're necessary. Who's paying for that? We are. And so, wrong choice, everybody pays for that. Now, it's my life. I'll do what I want to do. And Proverbs chapter 30, or chapter 30, look at 13, verse 20. Proverbs 13:20. He that walketh with wise men shall be wise. So what's a wise thing to do? Walk with wise folks. And what's a wise person? Somebody that's really intelligent and sits on the ground and hums all? No. This is a person that asks the question, what's the wise thing for me to do in this situation? They're seeking God's will. But a companion of fools shall be destroyed. The companion of fools. What if this guy's married? What if the companion of fools that gets destroyed, what if he's married? What if he's got 3 kids? What if he's a church member? What if he's an influential person in the community? What if? And so will it just impact him? Absolutely will not. It will impact a lot of people. And so the fool knows there's risk. The simple have no clue that there's risk involved. This guy does. He just thinks he can manipulate outcomes. And you can't. Nobody can manipulate outcomes like that. So intentions don't fix broken stuff. Well, it doesn't matter that you meant to. Say, I didn't mean to hurt anybody. And how many times have you heard some fool say, well, I didn't mean for that to happen. Well, that's great. Okay, you didn't mean for that to happen, but we're still taking him to the hospital. Whether you meant to do this or not, we've still got to go to the hospital. We've still got to have surgery. We've still got to go get his leg set. And so we're still going to have to pay for their car. Well, I didn't mean to wreck the car, but you meant to steal it. I realized that this was not your intention, this was not your plan, but it wasn't the wise thing to do. And so now, because you didn't intend, do intentions, this was like, I don't know if y'all remember, but when Hillary was being investigated, she was exonerated. Matter of fact, her letter of exoneration was written like 2 months before they had the investigation. Okay? And I'll never forget what was said when they came out of their investigative committee. We found no intention to break the law. No intention. Was law broken? Oh yeah. But we didn't see any. But it still was broken, right? And so it doesn't matter if you intended to do that or not. Good intentions. Yep. Now we're still going to have to hire a lawyer. Whether you meant to get in trouble or not, we're still going to have to hire a lawyer. Whether you didn't know that was a police officer you were buying that from, we're still going to have to go through the process. And lawyers are not cheap. Those boys make good money. And often they make good money off of stupid decisions that people make in life. And so if you see a barrier, for instance, if there's a law against something, what might be a good thing to do? Stop. You see a bridge out ahead, what might be a good thing to do? Take another road. Those things are there probably for a good reason. And so foolishness will blind you. These are people that they know they ought not do. And so your own selfishness, your own immaturity, your own weakness, carnality, ignorance, you're not aware. Have you ever been in a situation? I have, when I just wasn't aware of how stupid I was. I knew I was stupid, but not to that degree, Had no clue. Okay, I'm stupid with a small s. I didn't know it was a capital S and an uppercase T. Matter of fact, now that I look back on it, it was bold print, stupid, with 2 O's, as a matter of fact. And so foolishness will blind you to stuff like that. Now, sadly enough, information won't help them. You know that's wrong what you're doing, right? I don't care. You can show them the law. You can read them the Bible. Oh my goodness, Thursday night in class, we had one of the young ladies said that she was in a church service recently, and the preacher said 2 or 3 times, I think, she said, I know what the Bible says, but this is what I believe. This was a pastor. And I was like, say that again? And she said, that's what he said. And plus he also said more gooder. And so that's yeah, that sealed it with me. More gooder, really? And so if you say more gooder, then probably you don't care what the Bible says anyway. Yeah, I was a little stunned with that. But how many times in high school, those of you that go back in the day, you remember going in the gym? We're going to have I always loved assemblies because you didn't have to go to class. And so we'd go to these assemblies, and I remember them setting up that big tripod screen and the big old reel-to-reel, remember that? They'd start that thing, and they'd show these horrible pictures of folks dying with lung cancer. And I can remember thinking, I didn't smoke at that time, but I was like, that never happened to me. That happened to that idiot right there. He did something that I would never do, and da-da-da-da-da. And so everybody, well, they don't even show those, I'm sure, today, but they sure did back then. And they would show people on respirators. You've seen the commercials now on TV. Got the hole in the throat. My name is Maria. And I'm just telling you. And folks, you say, well, you don't like to hear that. Is it true? See, it's true. And Yeah, they like methamphetamines. I've seen pictures of, here's a girl, she was 18 years old, pretty high school senior, and then 5 years later, she looks like she's 90 years old. And I mean, there are even warnings on the packages, that tell you this will kill you, and this is so. Don't walk past those warnings. Causes birth defects, and so what? So I'm just telling you that the fool says, I know what's right and what's wrong. I don't care. This is a dangerous person right here. Yep. Look at Proverbs 26, verse number 11. Proverbs 26:11, I believe it is. Yeah, as a dog returneth to his vomit, so a fool returns. So basically what he's saying is my vomit. And so bless his heart, there he is. All right. Now what's the cure for the fool? Time is the cure for the simple. Just let them grow up. Give them as good an environment as possible. And these kids are in a good environment. They got a good home environment. They got a good church environment. And so, I expect some good choices. We got a bunch of great young people here at the church. And so, I expect some good choices out of them. Now, will they always make the right choice? No. But here's the cure for the fool. That's going to take it. That's what it's going to take. Now, a wise person will say, down the road I can see there's going to be some problems, so I'm not going to do this. But the fool is like, yeah, I've seen the commercials, or I know all of that, and it doesn't really matter. That's exactly right. And so it may take the loss of a leg. It may take a car wreck where somebody is going to get their life altered permanently because of it. And maybe that will change things. And there's not even a guarantee that when that happens, but in school, you get in trouble for something. And y'all remember the time when the teacher would just jerk you out and blister your ear and right there on the sidewalk or right there in the hall? They didn't call your mom and daddy. Well, no, actually they did. Yeah. They didn't call for permission's sake. They called to report, Yes, sir. Absolutely. And I remember those conversations. Wait till your dad gets home. Mr. Lofgren called today. And I was like, oh, Mr. Lofgren. I couldn't stand Mr. Lofgren because of that. They would call and they'd get me in trouble, and they would probably do you the same way. And yeah. So now let's step it up even more. So we looked at the simple, and the cure for the simple is time. Let them grow up. That hopefully that'll change them. And then you got the fool. He knows what to do, but he's just not going to do it. And the cure for him is tragedy. That's what it's going to take to change his mind. Now, what about the mocker? Solomon he's given us the good, that's the simple, and the bad, that's the fool, and the ugly, this is a mocker. This guy is a fool on steroids. All right? Now, the mocker not only doesn't care about what's right and wrong, they will mock you for doing the right thing. You mean you're not going to drink? You mean you're not going to use drugs? What do you mean you're going to be faithful to your wife? This is a weekend, buddy. Your wife is out of town. And so all of the obstacles, according to the mocker, can be moved out of the way safely. And now we can engage in this activity. We know it's wrong, but, come on, man. What kind of prude are you? Right? This is the 21st century. It's just understood people are going to be unfaithful, or people are going to steal, or people are going to... It's just understood. Well, it may be. In general, in the culture, these things are understood, but not with you. Not with you. So you make a decision. I'll never do that. What are some things that you've made a decision about you'll never do? Forget the circumstances. You'll never do what? All right, never drink or smoke. All right. Drug use. You've had enough of that. Good. Never do it. All right. Okay, all right. Well, there's an illustration, but he learned, yes. Yeah, and that's a hard thing to say, isn't it? You know, that's a hard thing to say. What else? You will not do it, period. You've got drugs, you've got smoke, you've got alcohol. What else? Gossip. Oh, wait a minute, preacher. Oh, now hold on. Hold on. Now drugs I can understand, but I like me some gossip now. There's gossip. Steal. Yeah, you won't steal, okay? Now you work in a place where they deal with money. You could. But those are thousands of not your dollars. Yeah, thousands of not my dollars. Exactly right. But now, have we seen in the past here in Hardy County, people just reach right in? They don't care it's your money. They know how to do it. They can slip in and cover their tracks for a while, but eventually, you know, I don't know, regulators, whoever, somebody's going to find that. And so they scoff or mock those who pursue what is right and wise. Is anybody... And I love to ask you questions like this because I don't want anybody to think, well, you're just saying that because this is what the message is about. Has anybody in here ever been mocked for not getting involved with the wrong thing? We got 1, 2, 3. All right, 4, 5. Okay, so we got enough illustrations in here because, you know, people want as many folks on the bandwagon as possible. So I guess the punishment will be diluted, you know.
The goal is to change what's right and wrong. That's what they're...
Yep. We get enough people, we can legalize marijuana. We get enough people, we can legalize gay marriage or abortion or what. Just think now, when a majority of people think anything, look what is going to be legal. You watch in 5 years what's legal on primetime television. Look what's legal now versus 20 years ago. We keep moving the boundary. The moral boundaries are getting bigger and bigger, and we say things and do things now that would have gotten you thrown in jail, you know, back in the day. And so there he is, laughing at you for doing the right thing. Probably you might even catch a little bit of grief. You ever been invited somewhere on a Sunday and said, no, I'm not going to go? Well, what are you going to do? Going to church. What? You know, just something as simple as that. And a lot of people can't handle that. You know, they're going to collapse and do what they want to do. And so here's a mocker bird. Look in look at Proverbs 9. Verse 7. He that reproveth a scorner getteth to himself shame, and he that rebuketh a wicked man getteth himself a blot. So, reprove not a scorner, lest he hate thee. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love thee. There's your difference. The mocker does not want to be confronted. That's why it's always the police. It's always your fault. You get a mocker that thinks they can do anything they want to do, and they're going to mock the guy that stops them. They're condescending. They're critical. They're cynical. They're controlling. And they control their world through criticism and cynicism. There are some folks that cannot stand being criticized for anything, so they just go along with it. David? Absolutely. All right, we're going to wrap up. This will be. I'm glad you said that. Thank you very much. Did we get that on film? But they leverage what intelligence they think they have to control the situation that they're in. They think they've got some kind of information that somebody else doesn't have, and they're practically impossible to have a relationship with. They really are. Unfortunately, that's hard to say and come to the conclusion, but we'll get to it. We'll get to it. All right, we got to quit. Yes. That's weird. Yep. Well, thank you for doing that. I celebrate that with you. You did a wise thing. Wise thing. Yes, ma'am. Good. 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 That's a wise thing. I celebrate that. I celebrate you for that. All right. I will not go. I will not be in the same room with a piece of hummingbird cake. I said, will not. I've learned my lesson. Y'all ready to go to the house? Thank y'all for being here. Good group. Y'all have a great week. Lord willing, we'll see you Wednesday night. Pray for Sandy in the morning. She has her that disc shaved, and pray that that'll be the resolution for her back problems. Lord, thank you for your goodness. We love you. Thank you for the book. We're grateful specifically for the book of Proverbs. How simple. There are stop signs, there are go signs, there are yield signs, there are red lights, there are green lights here in this book, and give us eyes to see what we need to do and what we need to not do. And we want to be wise as we walk in this life. Thank you for your goodness in Jesus' name. Amen.